Welcome to the Week in One. The nation rose in support of Cheryl Zondi in the Timothy Omotoso trial, and the VBS bank heist saga gripped South Africa. I'm Erin Bates with a wrap of this week's top stories. Thank you for joining us. Cheryl Zondi's testimony in the rape trial of Nigerian pastor Timothy Omotoso and two others has rallied public support. Social media comments suggest many South Africans sympathized with her and saw her courage. Zondi has fielded what many argue were gratuitous questions from Omotoso's attorney. Be advised, the following story details rape allegedly committed by an adult on a child.
I gathered those guts to ask him, why was it so necessary for you to do this to me? Why was that so necessary? And he told me there was no other option.
Cheryl Zondi's testimony has rallied public support. On Tuesday, she detailed a confrontation with the man she accuses of raping her when she was a teenager. She claims televangelist Timothy Omotoso abused his religious authority to commit rape.
I told him, I don't like what you did to me. I used those words. He remembers. He was there.
Omotoso is accused of raping Zondi from when she was 14. He and his two accused face 63 charges, including human trafficking, racketeering, contravention of the Sexual Offences Act, and rape. Now Omotoso's attorney is being questioned over his behavior in court.
What suddenly gave you the courage to confront him? Weren't you still scared of him and that something might happen to you if you confront him?
I was scared of him, but as I just said, I gathered the guts to tell him how I felt.
You never asked him to apologize, correct?
I told him that what he did to me, I did not like. And I asked him, why was it so necessary? Why is it so necessary for you to do this? And he told me, there's no other option. It's either I'm in or out. That's what his response was.
Please just answer the question. Did you at any stage request an apology from him?
No. I didn't say I want you to apologize to me.
Thank you.
Here's Dauberman at work a day before.
I put it to you, ma'am, that you are fabricating your evidence.
Wow.
The version that you gave the police is different in material respects from what you have told the court. In other words, ma'am, I put it to you that you are lying about what happened to you.
With all due respect, that's one of the most absurd things I've ever heard in my life.
That's not a very clever answer, ma'am.
I'm not trying to be clever, I'm being honest.
Because I asked you earlier on, if you will recall, whether when you made your first statement, you intended to divulge exactly what happened to the police in full.
Yes, your question was whether I intended.
Yes, and you said yes, not so.
And as I say to you, traumatic experiences, sir, have that kind of effect on a person's mind. I'm not trying to be emotional here. This is what happened to me. Okay? He did that to me. And I was not trying to remember the finer details in the beginning. Excuse me for that.
Ma'am, don't ramble on, please.
I'm not rambling. I'm just telling you the truth, sir.
And for many, this question was gratuitous in the extreme.
How many centimeters? You know?
How can he measure?
My Lord, she could have felt it.
How would he know that? How many centimeters? How would he know that? How would she know that?
She could have felt it.
And then measure it in the end at the same time. I would not allow that question.
It's not going to help to be asking for centimeters. I don't know whether people are supposed to be carrying rulers in their pockets as women so that I can ask for measurements now and then. It doesn't help anything. It's just aggression as far as me is concerned, who's sitting in the court.
A few advocates agree that the point of questioning witnesses is to obtain their version and test it, but there are limits.
He's condescending, he's accusing, and we are not seeing it for the first time. You know, Fezeka, who we knew as Kwezi, was taken through that. You know, where lawyers are in the business of you as the person who has accused somebody of rape, you really stand on trial.
The whole judiciary, the whole criminal justice system should be there to support the victim through this trauma. Because if something happened to you years ago, you've suppressed it, and now it comes up again. And it shouldn't be in an aggressive and unnecessarily, you know, asking of questions that will not lead to the innocence or guilt of the accused.
Those questions are very derogatory to their posture as women, and we really cannot take kindly to that as society. Even as a person, we really cannot take kindly for that. And I think it's high time as a society we get up and do something about it, because it's totally unacceptable.
In the last 2 days, Judge Mandela Makaula has at times intervened, putting a stop to some of Dauberman's questions. But the lawyer's conduct has brought the legal profession under scrutiny.
No, this is not.
She was confident enough to raise the case in court. There are many women that are being abused out there, and they are not reporting the cases. Should we have women that report cases, courts shall protect them and ensure that they are not taken for a ride, and ensure that they are able to express themselves freely without prejudice in court.
Society has created a place wherein lawyers victimize the victim. Even society even goes further to victimize the victim. Now, you don't ask that you be raped, you just be raped. So how can you then be victimized by standing up? In fact, we should take her as our hero.
On one level, I celebrate her. But on another level, as a black woman in this country, you know, who has basically fought on issues of gender from even when I was her age, I am so angry that we still expect a young black woman to have to be that strong. Nobody knows what happens when she goes home. You know, we can say, oh, she broke down the court agenda. What has this done to her life?
The trial resumes on Wednesday. Erin Bates, Johannesburg.
Finance Minister Tito Mboweni has lashed out at auditors who failed to prevent the VBS saga. Mboweni is concerned that KPMG is implicated in the Great Bank Heist report. He was speaking to Parliament's Finance Committee. A former partner at KPMG is implicated in covering up the looting of nearly 2 billion rand from VBS Mutual Bank. ENCA's Annika Larson has more.
Just a few days into his appointment as finance minister, and Tito Mboweni has his work cut out for him. He has the mini-budget next week and the wide-scale looting at VBS. Mboweni says a lot went wrong at VBS, and he's urged the Hawks to make arrests as soon as possible. But he points a finger at its external auditors, which were KPMG.
I think that we were failed by both the internal auditors, clearly in cahoots with management, and the external auditors. I can't give any sense of credit to the board subcommittee for audit and compliance, because they seem to have been part of the heist as well. So I think in looking overall at the experience of this bank heist, I think the central bank will have to bear in mind, amongst others, what they can do in terms of inspections for small banks. I think that's a lesson learned. But I'm sure this committee has discussed this thing. When you have a large auditing firm failing us in the manner in which that one has, it's an issue of serious concern.
When VBS was placed under curatorship, KPMG suspended its head of financial services, Sipho Malaba, who now it turns out earned 34 million rand from VBS. Advocate Terry Motau has suggested that that money be reclaimed from KPMG. Motau and the Reserve Bank will appear before the Finance Committee here at Parliament next month. Annika Larson, Parliament.
Now, EFF's Deputy President Floyd Shivambu says reports suggesting he received 10 million rand from his brother are designed to discredit his party. A forensic report shows Brian Shivambu was paid over 16 million rand during the VBS Bank looting spree. The party held a media briefing to respond to the reports.
The misleading information which Daily Maverick has is deliberate. It's part of the whole propaganda machinery to do all of these things. We can challenge this Paulie Van Veek to bring us the so-called evidence that I received 10 million. It's pure insanity. It's madness of people who want to say that we received 10 million. If let's say, let's leave being a journalist, be a patriot in South Africa and go to a police station and say, here's the evidence that Floyd Shivambu received 10 million from VBS. Go to the police station and report that. There will never be any such. Also, the bank that I bank with would have called me in if I received 10 million rand to ask me, on what basis are you receiving 10 million rand? Because the regulations that deal with money movements in South Africa places an obligation on banks to caution its customers and its clients on the monies that are coming there and are not explained. I've never been called by the bank saying that come and explain some 10 million, which is not existing anywhere.
The South African Institute of Chartered Accountants is rubbishing suggestions that it's been weak to act against members implicated in the VBS report. The acting CEO has told ENCA some implicated members have already denied any wrongdoing in the 1.8 billion rand looting of VBS Bank. Aviwe Mtila reports.
9 of the accountants mentioned in the damning VBS Great Bank Heist report are members of the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. SAICA's acting CEO says the disciplinary processes are already underway, and she's dismissed claims that the accountancy umbrella body is stalling and has no teeth.
We understand that the public wants to see action and they want to see it now. But it cannot happen at the expense of following the right process, because unfortunately or fortunately, our process is very much legal based, and in terms of a legal system, everyone has got a right to be heard and a right to respond to what is being put to him or her, and then based on that you make a decision. You cannot just say we're being rushed. I understand, don't get me wrong, I understand the impatience of the public.
Lamola says at worst, accountants found guilty could be slapped with a R500,000 rand fine.
As it relates to SAICA, what is specified in our bylaws, you will be fined a maximum of 500,000 per charge, and you will be expelled as a member. And then obviously a criminal case will be opened, which will have to be a matter that is taken up by the criminal system.
Lamola's response comes as the latest World Economic Forum's Competitiveness Index shows a further drop in the country's auditing and accounting rankings. South Africa has plummeted 30 places from its lofty #1 position. But Lamola insists the country's auditing standards have not dropped, and SAICA's members have not done significant damage.
That rating has got nothing to do with the standards that have dropped. The standards are still the same. When we were evaluated, #1 is the same standard that we have adopted and the same standard that we are still using when we are #30. What has influenced whether we are #1 or #30 is a perception. It's a perception that has been created, grantly so, by the behavior of our members. It is not about a chartered accountant that has gone down in terms of the standard of work. It is not that. It is the perception that those few people have created that chartered accountants are corrupt. It is not saying the standards has gone so low that now you can't trust the financials. It is because few members have behaved. It's a behavior issue. Few members have behaved in a manner that has got nothing to do with the standard.
All the firms implicated in the report will be investigated under the jurisdiction of the Independent Regulatory Board for Auditors. Aviwe Mtila, Johannesburg.
Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane says her office will focus on what sort of maladministration and corruption municipalities were involved in. Mkhwebane says the Reserve Bank should have intervened in the matter earlier. The Public Protector spoke to my colleague Jeremy Maggs.
I think the regulatory bodies should have acted very much earlier, especially to stop this problem to escalate to...
When you talk about the regulatory authorities, you're talking about the Reserve Bank?
The Reserve Bank.
Where do you think the Reserve Bank failed?
I mean, if they have managed to investigate this bank at an earlier age, I mean, around 2014 or 2015, and stop whatever they've been doing, you wouldn't find even municipalities, especially depositing money, because that is a violation of the MFMA in the first place. So that was not supposed to have happened.
Would it be within your remit then to also question the Reserve Bank about regulatory failure?
Remember, the Reserve Bank is a state organ in terms of the Constitution, and the Public Protector has jurisdiction over the Reserve Bank. I mean, there's nothing stopping me to find out from the Reserve Bank what other processes they put in place to make sure that they continually manage and oversee the operations of such mutual banks, including the banks.
And you would be prepared to tackle that head-on as far as the Reserve Bank is concerned?
Remember, the Reserve Bank, they should know that as an organ of state, being independent, they are independent. I'm not interfering in their work, but then we are working together to make sure that we have good governance in this country. I mean, that's the pillar we are all focusing on, including them, so that we don't face the similar challenges in the future.
But at face value at this point, it would be your early contention that the Reserve Bank perhaps dropped the ball in its regulatory oversight.
I'm not saying they dropped the ball. I think it will be fair that we engage them and find out when did they pick this up? Why were they not acting earlier? And possibly they would indicate they've acted. Possibly it's not also their responsibility to take the matter forward. But the fact of the matter is it's not blaming them or that they dropped the ball, no.
When we come back, we take a look at what transpired during the SARS inquiry this week.